Hey, Pastor Carl, are you there?
Yeah, Nick, is that you?
Yeah, it's me. Can you do me a favor? Can you turn your computer screen or whatever you're using there?
Oh, is that
Yeah,
it? There we
that's a
go. I
lot
see
better.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Um,
All right. Hit me with those live stream numbers.
okay, so YouTube, we got about 46 views this past Sunday.
It's okay.
It's all right. For our congregation, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Twitch, we had just one view, which is honestly probably just me.
Just one.
Yeah.
Nick, I think we're going to have to talk about that later this week.
I look for the opportunity. Let's see. And Facebook, we had 46,578, but I mean, that's not.
What did you say?
Pastor Carl? The Facebook numbers?
Repeat that number.
46,578?
Oh, my sweet Mary Jesus.
No,
Here we
Pastor
go.
Carl, you don't understand. That doesn't mean what you think it means. The Facebook numbers are way different than the normal numbers.
Oh, my gosh, Nick. That's ridiculous. That's amazing. Oh,
Carl, look. Oh, boy.
And let us continue reading. We will make for you ornaments of gold studded with silver. While the king was on his couch by...
Hi, I'm Caleb. When COVID hit, churches around the world flock to online spaces to continue their ministry on digital platforms. I don't think it's a hyperbole to say that the platforms chosen were probably relatively arbitrary. I would also guess that many churches are still using the same platforms that they started with. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Consistency is important, but I think discussing the pros and cons of the different platforms available is important to making an educated decision on where to put your efforts. However, there is another school of thought. Using services like Restream.io, Caster.io, or Living as One, we can effectively stream to as many of these platforms as we want at the same time. Wouldn't that make sense? Go out into all the world and preach the gospel to all men. Yes and no. Yes, streaming to all platforms at once does theoretically allow a greater range of people to find it. Perhaps some people just prefer YouTube or Vimeo to Facebook. The problem occurs when we start talking about algorithms. Facebook, for example, chooses to show content that it deems as engaging. For live streams, that's content that has a lot of concurrent viewers, comments, likes, and shares. The more interaction a stream gets, the more Facebook shows it to potential viewers. Now, let's say I have 1,000 total congregants that watch our live stream. In an effort to reach the most amount of people, we're streaming on 4 different platforms: YouTube and Facebook and Church Online and Vimeo. And because we used to have them before, we're also having 2 services a day, one at 9 a.m. and one at 11 a.m. Across all of our different platforms and our different time slots, we now have divided up our 1,000 congregants into 8 pieces. That is 1/8 of the interaction on any individual stream. That's 1/8 of the pushing power that Facebook is going to put behind it. That's 1/8 of the energy that you can stir from more people in the comments. The stream will feel more barren, less watched, and less interesting, and I would argue, less successful. Now, that's not to say that live streaming on multiple platforms is a bad strategy. There are legitimate reasons for a multi-platform approach. The kind of people watching your stream on something like Church Online are not the same people that you're trying to reach on Facebook. Those are 2 different sets of needs, interests, interactions, and styles. So the trick then is to find the minimum amount of platforms you need to reach your audiences without segmenting your user base into too small of pieces. So let's talk about the platforms. First, the big dog, Facebook. Your grandma has Facebook. Your parents have Facebook. Your teens probably don't use Facebook, but they could get access to it if they needed to. Facebook is still today the most popular social media site in the world. It has the widest range of demographics and is probably where most churches start when setting up a live stream. Facebook has one massive advantage over every other platform and one massive disadvantage above any other platform. The advantage is super simple: discoverability. Facebook is by far the easiest way to get your stream in front of new viewers. As long as you're getting a healthy amount of interaction, Facebook will carry your stream to mutual friends, commonly interested people, even what seems like total strangers sometimes. If your church is even remotely evangelistically focused, you should probably be on Facebook. That being said, the thing that makes Facebook so good at what it does is also the thing that makes Facebook so bad at what it does: distractibility. You can't just watch a stream on Facebook. There's comments happening. There's little hearts popping up on the screen. Oh, what's that? There's suggested videos. There's a new friend request. The rest of my newsfeed is always there. There's a new comment on my profile picture. Facebook is the land of distraction. It is the most competitive arena among all of these platforms when it comes to human attention. Grabbing someone's attention is one thing. Keeping it is another. At our church, our average watch time on Facebook for an hour-and-a-half services is about 1.5 minutes. It's easy to get caught up in the massive number that Facebook shows as viewers, but it's important to note that many of these viewers are passerbys. Facebook should be treated as a seeker-friendly platform. Use it as a hook to get people plugged in. Potentially encourage them to move over to platforms with less constant distractions. It's not a bad platform. It's not a broken platform, but it's a platform that you need to understand and respect. It absolutely does have its use, but you need to understand how to use it effectively. Before I jump into the next platform, I think it's worth mentioning Facebook's little sister, Instagram. It's definitely easy to stream to Instagram using your phone, but live streaming from your computer or an encoder requires third-party software that currently seems like it might be a breach of Instagram's terms of service. There's a lot of questions around the legality of these sorts of options, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to spend any time encouraging churches to jump on this train until it's figured out. If you absolutely must be on Instagram, you can Google the solution for yourself. That's on you. Next, let's talk about the largest video sharing site in the world, YouTube. Remember everything I said about your grandma and your parents and your teens on Facebook? They have got nothing on YouTube. Your toddler uses YouTube. It's ubiquitous, it's unchallenged, and it's overwhelmingly saturated. Relatively speaking, YouTube is less distracting than Facebook is. That's not really saying much, as YouTube does have plenty of suggested videos and advertisements, but as it is, it's usually a little bit easier to pay attention. This is also reflected in our average watch time, up from 1.5 minutes to about 30 minutes on YouTube. By the same coin, however, that means that less visitors are likely to stumble upon your live stream. It absolutely can and does happen, but it's nothing compared to the amount of visitors you'll see on Facebook. YouTube also makes it incredibly easy for families to watch your live stream from the comfort of their living room using an Apple TV, a Roku, or a smart TV. Now, this does mean that they're probably not interacting with the comments or liking the video, but they're definitely absolutely engaged. YouTube is also, of course, a free-to-use platform, and once you surpass 100 subscribers, you can make a custom URL, allowing your congregants to more easily find your channel. I honestly view YouTube as the jack of all trades. Free 1080p streaming, some user suggestions, only moderately distracting smart TV support, and live comments. It's definitely a safe pick for a lot of churches. Next, let's talk about Vimeo. Vimeo has a couple big flaws that I should try to get out of the way first. It's not free to live stream on Vimeo. There is a monthly plan that you need to jump on that costs a minimum of $75 a month. Second, there are significantly less people on Vimeo. Most of your congregation will be unfamiliar with the platform. You're not going to get randos stumbling upon your live stream. That being said, Vimeo does have 3 huge things going for it. First is control. Vimeo has a reputation for having some of the highest quality video on the internet with very minimal compression. They built their own live streaming app from the ground up that works flawlessly with their streaming platform. No more OBS. They have an all-in-one solution with an absurd amount of user control. Custom live lower thirds right in the editor, cutting between multiple different cameras, audio mixing, pre-recorded content, even archive your finished live stream in 4K. It's honestly impressive. Second, Vimeo has restreaming capabilities built into the subscription cost. That means that you can subscribe to Vimeo, stream on their platform, and they will restream your feed to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. No need to buy an additional subscription from Caster or Restream or Living as One. If you were already planning on multi-streaming to one of these services, definitely look into Vimeo. You might find that it's the most cost-effective option. Third, Vimeo has some really interesting engagement options for live viewers if you have the right package. There's live Q&A, polls, email capture, custom call to action buttons, and a whole lot more. There's even user level demographics if you're someone who likes to dig into the analytics. All of this together comes together to paint a picture of a platform with a lot of potential for churches who have the technicians to figure it out. It is not as easy or user-friendly as something like Facebook or YouTube, but the engagement options, the analytics, the stream quality, and the built-in restreaming options are going to be a win for a lot of churches. Next up, let's talk about Twitch. Twitch is the first live streaming only platform on our list and is kind of, arguably, a weird fit for churches. Twitch was primarily built as a live streaming platform for video game live streamers. The branding, the majority of the content, and the audience all line up with that goal. That being said, there are plenty of users that live stream alternative forms of content on the platform. Now, if you came up to me and asked if your church should be live streaming on Twitch with no other information, my answer would almost certainly be probably not. I think this is a classic example of content incompatibility. Do I think there's room for the gospel on Twitch? Absolutely. There has to be room on there. There are lost people on the platform, and the Great Commission calls us to find them and introduce them to Christ. Do I think that streaming your church service is the best way to do that? Absolutely, positively, unequivocally not. The gospel is not incompatible with Twitch. The communication style is. Twitch viewers are looking for engagement. They're looking for live interaction from the streamer to the commenters. I have yet to see a pastor pull an iPad up to the pulpit and respond to comments and questions live from the stage. If you're willing to understand the platform and the people and build a program that is entirely for that group, I absolutely encourage you to do so. If your plan is to take your normal Sunday morning stream and just upload it to Twitch, you'll almost certainly find nothing but trolls and confusion. Chances are your church probably shouldn't be on Twitch, but there certainly is room and need for some. Next, let's talk about Church Online, the only platform on this list specifically intended for church use. Built by lifechurch.tv, Church Online was built specifically for churches by churches. In addition to live chat, Church Online allows users to request prayer from live pastors or hosts, allowing your church staff to minister to your congregation during the service. They provide access to fillable notes to go along with the sermon, the entire Bible, which is powered by Life Church's Bible app, links to your giving platform, your website, connection cards, or whatever. You can update your church's portal using your logo and your pictures and your branding and customize the experience for your congregants. You can stream to it from YouTube or Vimeo or any other platforms that allows you to embed your stream. It really is an excellent platform, and best yet, it is completely free. Now, that doesn't mean that it's perfect. The main problem that comes with Church Online is the complete lack of discoverability. Literally, no one will stumble upon your live stream. This is not what this platform was built to do. The only people that are going to find it are the people that are looking for it. Now, that's not entirely a bad thing, as it does result in a virtually distractionless environment. On average, our watch time on Facebook is about 1.5 minutes. YouTube is about 30 minutes. Church Online, our average watch time is 1.5 hours. The people who are coming to Church Online to watch your service are coming to watch your service and nothing else. They are committed and they are engaged. The second issue, though, is occasionally reliability. Now, this has definitely gotten better in the past couple of months, but in the beginning of COVID, as more and more churches were jumping onto the platform very quickly, Church Online was crawling to its knees every single week. Chat would freeze up completely, the website would refuse to load, prayer requests weren't going through, the whole 9 yards. Every week we had the vast majority of our viewers jump to the other platforms we were streaming to. Now, this can definitely be chalked up to the absurd amount of churches jumping on the platform all at once, and they didn't have the infrastructure set up to be able to cope with the new users. They seem to have made the necessary improvements, and we haven't had a problem in a while, but it's important to note that Life Church is offering this service for free. They can't throw all the money in the world behind it like Vimeo can. Development and updates are just simply going to be slower. It's an excellent service when it's working well, but when it's not, it can be problematic. Again, we haven't had any issues in a couple of months, but I think this history is worth knowing if you plan on trusting your congregation to this platform. There's definitely more streaming platforms out there, but we wanted to cover the main options churches seem to be gravitating towards. Again, I don't think there's a single platform or plan that every church needs to be on. It entirely depends on your goals, your congregation, your culture, and the technical know-how that you have on your team. If you're having trouble figuring any of these programs out, or if you're running into problems, be sure to jump over to our Discord. We have plenty of church media professionals with experience in all of these platforms, and we'd be happy to help you get set up and running. We are all in this together. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Blackbar. If you want to dive deeper into anything that we talk about here in these videos, make sure to check out the podcast. We release them every week, and we go more into detail on our experiences with these issues. Again, like we said, make sure to join our Discord if you want to get in touch with other church media professionals and pastors looking to figure out how these things work. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.